It must be a funny feeling to have an article appear about you, first sentence of which is you were fired from the movie that just came out. I'm thinking about the Esquire piece that Kenneth Tynan wrote about you, and it said that at one point they were going to fire you.
Yes, so on every film they're trying to fire me.
How many times has this happened to you?
It happened virtually as many times as I tried to direct a film.
Every film they've tried to fire you?
Practically.
Oh, well,
or take the film away from me, let's put it this way.
How do they dare do that? I mean, does it ever cross their mind that nobody else is going to finish it quite the way you would have?
Well, yes, well, they always say, we love the rushes, we love the dailies. What you are doing is great, but can you do it cheaper?
Cheaper?
Yeah.
It's always
faster.
It's always over money, is it?
Oh, only.
Yeah.
As I think that in this article, I don't remember because it was quite a while ago when I read it. I read it in the manuscript form, which was long ago. But I think Kenneth Tynan mentioned that once I was worried. I had exactly the same problem during the shooting of Rosemary's Baby. And I met Otto Preminger on the lot of Paramount, and he asked me what I was worried about, and I told him, and he said, but they never fired director for going over budget. And I said, but they fired many directors before. He said, yes, for lousy dailies, for lousy results, but never for going over budget. They try to press you this way. And I thought back, and indeed, I thought of histories where, you know, of cases when directors were replaced. It always happens over, you know, so since then I'm not worried about it. And if they take it away, I can do another film, better one maybe.
But wouldn't it kill you to have a film taken away 2/3 finished like this?
It would kill me some time ago, but not now, you see. I think you become less sensitive from film to film because you know the agony of it. People think one exaggerates when you're using such a word, but it is an agony to go through a film because unfortunately, you see, most of films are done this way. I mean, most of films go over budget. Most of any enterprises go over budget. Probably the skyscraper right behind here went over budget because it's very difficult to foresee exactly what materials, how many working hours you need, etc., etc. Particularly in the film, each film is a new experience. It's not even a skyscraper when you can measure the blocks of steel, etc. So I always, and it always turns out to be a bit better than I was anticipating. And to make it better, it costs more money. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. So
on each level, there's a little bit more I can do to it.
Yeah. But I think you'd want some kind of guarantee that 2/3 of your movie isn't going to be taken over by somebody else who's going to finish it and call it.
Well, people who give the money for the film, they are giving this money because of me. I managed through these years of struggle to create this situation which is quite convenient for me, that people think that my movie is going to be a success, the people who are interested only in the profit of it. So they, in a sense, they buy me as a director. They buy me, not Shakespeare. You know, when I said I wanted to do Shakespeare, they think it was a disease. They thought I went crazy.
Yeah?
You know, yes. My own agent said, what are you doing to me?
Why did they feel that mostly? Did they think that a man who wasn't born speaking English
They
shouldn't...
say, Roman, baby, you know Shakespeare's a poison to the box office.
Yeah? That voice sounded very familiar. Who was that?
That's the voice of Hollywood.
Oh, yes, I knew him. I'd know him anywhere.
Would sound better with a thick cigar.
Yeah. Props. You know, people are always analyzing you because of your work and all, and I've been reading about you a lot. Do you hate that? Yeah.
No, I don't. They're free to analyze. I don't like to analyze myself.
You don't like to analyze yourself. Does it bother you when other people do, when they say, in this part of the movie we can see Polanski's childhood?
Oh, that's wonderful. Let them do it. Creates the legend, you know, and then it's easy to get money to make a movie.
But your own life has such dramatic, your own childhood has such dramatic things in it. I mean, I was reading about it. I can't imagine, first of all, I don't think that anybody who hasn't lived through Europe during the war can have any idea what it was like. I'm sure I can't. And the things that have happened to you, you've been very close to death twice as a kid. I'm thinking of the one incident where you were on the hillside picking the berries. Could you tell that?
Well, I was close to death many times,
Yeah.
but there's no point of lamenting myself, about my childhood. Just think of any child in India now, Pakistan, or in Vietnam. I mean, we just don't have contact with these people, and you're lucky to meet one that went through things like that. You see?
You're lucky to?
To get one who went through things like these people whom you will never meet.
Yeah.
You know, what did you want to know about it?
I wanted to hear the story that happened to you when you were on the hillside as a kid. And
that was one of the more innocent. Yeah, I like this story. I mean, I was picking berries. I was living in a country since I escaped from the ghetto just before the liquidation. My mother was taken.
This is Warsaw or?
No, that was Krakow.
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 Okay.
It wasn't as terrible as in Warsaw. You see, in Warsaw, people were virtually dying in the ghetto. The Krakow ghetto was liquidated before they started dying of starvation, so they were sent to the concentration camps. My mother was taken first, and about a month later, I escaped because we knew they were going to liquidate it. My father cut the wires. It was quite easy to get out of the ghetto. There was no problem. The problem was to survive outside of it. See, he'd cut the wires about 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, or maybe early, I don't remember. It was very early. We could see Germans coming because they used the soldiers for liquidation and sending people to the concentration camp. And that was the last time I saw him. And first I stayed with some family, some friends of my father's, and subsequently friends with this family friends, and eventually with people I don't know. And then I ended up in the country. It was my first contact with the country. I was then 7.5. And I lived in the country for a few years with the Catholic family. It was very backward group of people, but they were quite good to me. They were not like the people in Painted Bird, which if you didn't read, I suggest you do, because it's very similar to childhood. And there were no Germans there. Once I was walking and picking berries, and I saw some Germans German soldiers on the cart, horse cart.
You saw them on
the cart, and I just ignored it. And then I heard a whistle of the bullet. It was the first time I heard something. And then I heard the clap of the explosion. And then I looked in that direction, and I saw that they were aiming at me. They were just shooting. It had nothing to do with me. They just let out the shot. That's all.
Just for fun.
I don't know why you picked that, and I don't know why Kenneth Tyner just picked it. I went in much more drastic situations. I was bombed, and people tried to kill me, and I went through many things like that. I don't know. This is just innocent thing. It's just, I mean, I don't know how many things like that happened to you. Maybe you walked, there was a flower pot which fell behind you. You didn't hear it because there was a bus passing at the same time, and you didn't hear the noise splash.
Not even that. To my innocent life, that little story you told us is a dramatic incident.
To me, much more dramatic incident when I was in the ghetto.
Yeah.
I saw, it was just before the liquidation, they were taking parts of people away, and I saw a group of old women being led somewhere by German soldiers. And most of them were old, but not all of them. One was very old and could hardly walk, and she was sort of staggering behind. And this German officer was pushing them. I was on the other side of the street. He was pushing her and shouting at her in German. And suddenly he drew a gun and shot her in her back, and this blood exploded. And it was all so fast, and this woman fell down. I ran into a doorway and hidden myself under the stairs and stayed there for maybe an hour. That was really shocking and terrible experience in my life. Not this one when they were shooting at me. I was running very fast afterwards. But here I saw something. You see, I was for the first time in my life, I was there maybe 7 or something like that, or 7.5. I don't remember exactly the period of it in the ghetto. But it was the first time that something like that happened that scared me so much that I couldn't forget it for years afterward.
I see what you mean, the
You
contrast
understand?
between that and the
It's
other thing.
much more
Yeah.
frightening when you see something than when it happens to you.
Who could you go to explain that sort of thing to you? What, did you say? What did you assume that's the way the world was? That people shot people constantly, tried to kill people all the
Well,
time?
I
and it
think
was-
that,
Or did you know that you were going through a particularly bad part of the world?
well, you see, child accepts everything. And that's just the reality. You can bring up a child in a white room, and he will accept it as a reality, whatever you do to him.
Yeah.
Throughout the war, I ate boiled flour with some milk sometimes for 3 years, and I thought that was the normal food. I liked it. Sometimes I could have some sugar or saccharin on it or anything. But there was something like I wasn't particularly unhappy about this part of it. I know now that people kill and do wars because they like it. I mean, that's the thing which we have to face. That's part of human nature. That's evolutionary. We are built this way. And there's the other part of human beings, the civilized mind, which rebels against this thing. But this is inherent. There would not be wars if people didn't want wars. You wouldn't be able to have a war if people didn't want wars. People enjoy killing. People enjoy fighting.
But what I wondered was, did you know that there was a world? Did you know that there was somebody your age, me, growing up somewhere else in the world in a
of course.
completely
I remember,
peaceful?
I tell you how. I tell you another episode will explain it exactly how I felt.
Okay.
About 2 years later, 3 years later, when I was living in the country, I was picking this berry again because that's all I could do: pick berries or mushrooms or things like that, and help with harvest. But there was very little harvest because they had only acre and a half for the whole family. It was hardly anything to eat. Potatoes and flour that we would grind in this, hand mill, if you want. I don't know how is it called, kind of stone, anyway.
For berries, a press or something.
Not berries, for grain.
Oh, for
to
grain,
make flour.
a mill, yeah,
Kind
a
of
small mill.
Small mill.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was picking these berries, and it was towards the end of the war. It was 1944, I think. Summer, very, very hot on the hill. Summer in Poland is very hot, winter very cold. It's like in Canada, sort of, or even New York. And I was picking. I was in a little wood, birchwood, and all noise you could hear was this, this summer noise of the insects. And suddenly I heard a different noise. Like, I couldn't understand what it was. And then I thought maybe it's an airplane. And I looked up and I saw this hundreds of American planes just going east, and then there's a new noise came, and I could see the explosions, the German artillery fighting. This was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. When I sometimes hear this noise, it was bringing such a hope, such expectations for something to come. And I was just hoping that no one of these planes will explode. And they did occasionally, and then you could see the white parachute, going. And then I was hoping that he will come over this way, the man on the parachute.
Yeah.
I'll be able to talk to him. It was a moving experience.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. This noise is very important for me. And I used it in one film. As a matter of fact, I used it in Macbeth. Nobody will know what
You'll know what moment it was. Yeah. Wow.